Welcome to the Work and Play podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Joyce. Today's episode is about New Year's resolutions. My version of a New Year's resolution is choosing yourself in 2020. I've asked my fiance, Matt, to join me today. Matt and I have been on a similar journey of self-discovery for the past 2.5 years, so I think he'd be a great addition and have great insight. Thanks for joining us today, Matt.
No problem. I just had to come downstairs. Isn't a big deal.
Well, we appreciate you being here. So tell me a little bit about your journey so far on choosing yourself and self-discovery and your thoughts on resolutions.
I think I've definitely made a few New Year's resolutions in my past, and I think they've almost always been around weight loss, maybe eating better as well, and they all have lasted probably a few days. I think doing that in January is a very difficult time to be active and to eat well, even if you're not doing it as a regular lifestyle. It's hard just to go for a run because it's icy. You don't want to go outside and be active and do things, especially if you haven't done them before. So I think when we've talked about resolutions, we talked about how silly they usually are because they don't seem to work.
Yeah, definitely. I think in the past, I've almost poo-pooed resolutions because you often see or hear about people who say they want to change their life, but then they don't follow through. But I think some of that is about a negative thought that you have about yourself, and it's driven by self-doubt and negativity. And I think if people truly want to change and really choose themselves, it really comes from within in a good place. It's got to be more from a positive space than, I feel like I don't look great in the mirror, so I have to lose 5 pounds or something like that. So I truly believe that when we're talking about resolutions, it's definitely, like you said, more of a whole entire complete lifestyle change. It has to come from a happy place within yourself before you can make any changes that are for the better.
Yeah, mine was definitely, I want to lose X number of pounds and eat better. And it wasn't a SMART goal, that's for sure, because there was a number which is almost meaningless, and then eating better could mean a number of things. So it came from a place of wanting to look better in the mirror, and then this kind of fantasy of eating well, but it never happened. And I definitely was overweight, and I didn't like how I looked, and changes didn't happen until it was a whole life change of being active all the time, not just going for a run or going to a gym. It was walking and hiking and kayaking and kind of a whole lifestyle change there, as well as eating healthy, which meant, okay, what am I cutting out? What am I focusing on? And instead of dieting, just choosing foods that were better for me and not getting mad at myself if I did have a treat, like alcohol or maybe, in my case, ice cream, I guess. But it didn't happen magically on January 1st. It was just a lifestyle change that happened. I would say not slowly. I think once you start doing those things, it kind of snowballs. You don't want to get off track, and you're excited to continue to do those things. But I do think, it being January 1st is really hard because, if you haven't skied, snowboarded, snowshoed, done those things in the winter, you're probably not all of a sudden going to do those things in addition to somehow getting to the gym and all of a sudden changing your complete diet.
Yeah, getting outside can be really daunting to people that don't like the cold either. I know I used to be that type of person. For me, in the past, I was a gym goer. I have been. I still enjoy the gym and I enjoy working out. That's always been a part of my life. But a lot of the things that I was missing as far as New Year's resolution or anything went was I felt like I was lacking some sort of happiness. Like there was a piece missing from my life and I was constantly trying to find that. So come January, I would try to set these silly little goals, and maybe it would be that, I want to gain this much muscle, or I want to eat super clean and all of that, but it wasn't necessarily about that actual goal. It was more that I was unhappy. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to share some tips on how to change your life in a way that really comes from choosing yourself. So instead of calling this a resolution, let's call it like self-love, self-care. It's a plan to really be successful. But then in that, obviously, things like weight goals and eating healthy, that's just treating yourself the way that you should. So I'm going to share my plan, how I'm going to choose myself in 2020, and we can kind of chat about that. So one thing that I find most people this day and age have a really hard time slowing down. That's one thing that I really want to make sure that I do in 2020 is take the time to slow down. Life doesn't have to be chaos all the time, and people are busy, 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 and go, go, go. And we have 5 kids, and that can be hectic going from one activity to the next. But I really want to take the time to enjoy those little moments in life and stop and look at the beautiful night sky when there's stars outside, and listen to that little baby giggle and enjoy it. And so I think slowing down is really important. So that's number one, I think, on my choosing yourself in 2020.
So the whole stop and smell the roses, say?
Yeah, absolutely. Stop and smell the roses.
We were at Indigo or Chapters today, and there were journals. And do you remember two of them said, "I'm a very busy person," on the cover as a joke. But I do feel that people wear that as a badge of honor, that they are just so busy, and that means that they're succeeding, or that's a good thing. Listen, we all get busy at times. There's going to be days or maybe even weeks where there's a lot going on and things pile up, whether it's work and kids and hobbies and travel and all that kind of stuff. But I don't really think that being busy all of the time equates to true happiness for everyone. Now, some people thrive on it, but I certainly don't. And I think having a baby who now is almost 11 months old after us having children, his youngest sister is 7. That's worlds away. And I think we are both really stopping and enjoying those small moments with our baby way more often and very pointedly, and we're definitely putting that time aside. Also, last night you stopped at the window and looked out and watched the snow because it was beautiful. I think that we also shut ourselves inside, especially in winter. It's cold, it's dark, but, we looked through the window last night and saw this awesome snowfall. And sometimes we go out in it, But yeah, slowing down is important. You can't always slow down. There's going to be some chaos. There's going to be crazy days. But I think cutting out things that aren't making you happy and are just making you busy is really important. And I definitely did that. There was a lot of things going on in my life that I realized I'm only doing them because I've done them. They're not necessarily giving me joy anymore. And I was just kind of automatically always doing the same things and then adding more. So at some point, you're just doing so many things you don't have time to stop.
It's actually a good segue. Slowing down kind of sets us up for number 2 on the list of how I plan to choose myself in 2020. Setting boundaries. That's a huge deal. And sometimes setting a boundary could be about slowing down, saying no sometimes, and no, I have to take this time for myself, or I can't take on this extra project, or reaching out to somebody for some help. But it can also mean things like setting boundaries with family or friends. I recently had to cut out a family member because there was a toxic episode that happened, and it left me feeling really hurt every time that I encountered this person, and I actually had to completely release them from my life in order to free myself from that poisonous atmosphere. So setting boundaries can be really difficult, but it's absolutely necessary to preserve your own well-being.
Yeah, I think especially when I first started at the job that I'm currently in, I was volunteering a lot and I was going above and beyond. And not that I don't still, there are a lot of things that I do in my job that aren't necessarily part of the job description. But there were things that I did eventually cut out because I think maybe I was just trying to impress people, or maybe I was just trying to fill my time, and we could do a whole episode about that. But right now I volunteer for Skills Nova Scotia and Skills Canada, and I have for, oh my God, 14 years, and I do love it. But at the same time, it's more and more and more on my plate, and I'm definitely looking at to not do that going forward, or reduce my role. So even though there's this thing that I've been doing for 14 years, 15 in 2020, I may stop doing it. You can only do something for so long, and then you're not necessarily getting the same things out of it. And I know there are lots of people who volunteer or do things, and they do it every year, every year, every year. And then it's definitely a badge of honor to say, hey, I've done this for 10 years, and people rely on you, and that's hard. But
And sometimes it can take a toll.
Absolutely. And it's taking you away from your family, and it's taking you away from possibly even growing, because you are doing the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, I think setting boundaries for your time is really important, because when we talk about all these things, whether it's exercising, whether it's spending time with family, whether it's stopping and smelling the roses, a lot of people will say, well, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, well, how do I have time for any of it then, if we have 5 children and we have demanding jobs and hobbies and a side business and family and friends and long commutes and all of that? And sometimes I do find time to do these things. So I think that almost anyone can, and it's about setting those boundaries.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so number 3 on the list of how to choose yourself or myself in 2020 is investing in relationships. So this can mean your relationship with your partner, your mother, your sister, your coworkers. I basically have committed that I want to get to know my coworkers better, and I want to form more of a friendly relationship and really get to know them for the people that they truly are. So that's something that I'm looking forward to doing in 2020. The other thing is the relationships that you have day to day. So with your children, with your spouse, and your family that you live with. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, sometimes you're sucked out from life at work, and you give so much time and effort being there at work that when you come home, you don't really give much to the people that you love the most. So I think that is something that is so important, to invest in those relationships. And that can be started just by sitting down and asking a question about their childhood. Matt and I sat and we had a bubble bath the other day together, and we talked about memories from Christmas. Actually, it was Christmas night. We sat there and we reminisced on previous Christmases, and that was a really great conversation to kind of connect and be authentic and vulnerable. And that's really important in a relationship. And so that's something that I really want to do in 2020.
Well, I think what you just hit on was, casually mentioned that we were having a romantic bubble bath on Christmas night. But we have worked at our relationship, not worked that it needed work to be happy, but we put the work in, as in we put time aside. And we always have time for each other. And, having a romantic bubble bath by candlelight and drinking wine is not out of the norm. That is not a once every 5 years, oh, it was funny and romantic. We do things like that all the time. So, luckily I don't have to focus on that on 2020. We're going to continue doing the same, hopefully more. With the baby, sometimes it's hard because he's been in our room and all of that. But I still don't think that's an issue. I do think it is for a lot of people. When we see posts on Facebook that says, oh, it's date night, it's been a year, or it's been since the baby was born 14 months ago, or something like that. And all of our situations are different. And obviously not having family close to watch a baby so you can go on a date is very difficult.
But it doesn't have to be out.
Exactly.
You can have a date in your own home, and you can spend time together in your own home and invest in those relationships while having a Italian night like we did recently. We're pukey level of cuteness over here. But yeah, you can do those date nights at home, and I mean, it could be even 10 minutes after work. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's having those conversations and really diving in deep with each other instead of just surface level. If you're giving to your spouse what you maybe give to just a coworker, that's not really fair to either of you, and it's probably not going to go well in the long run, and you're going to find yourselves in some trouble maybe down the
And
road.
all kids sleep. So, or you know what? At the end of the day, it's okay if they watch a movie and you sneak into the garage and put up a dartboard. The dates don't have to be out. They don't have to be crazy. So to that end, though, I think that one thing that I've had difficulty with for a while now is spending time with friends because I was the person who often planned things. And I think I was trying to escape a lot before. And most of my friends, if not all, have kids now as well. So that I think is something for 2020 that I do want to focus on.
Okay, so the next thing on the list is we're going to dig a little deeper here. It's about getting to know yourself. So this might sound a little scary to some of you. We spend so much time with ourselves. However, most people aren't really connected with their authentic self. And so how we do that would be by meditating and really thinking deeply about things and journaling and finding out what you truly like. What are your dislikes? What are your likes? Meditation has become something for me that is fairly new in my life, I'll be honest. But in this journey of self-discovery that I recently have started on, it's actually been really thought-provoking. And I find myself meditating and then coming up with these great ideas, and it feels really good. And it's almost like you wake up and you're like, just, you feel so good to have spent that time with yourself. And again, it also kind of goes like aligns with slowing down and taking that time and getting to know yourself. So I know Matt hasn't really been into meditation, but recently we tried out yoga together. And so maybe if you're not quite ready for meditation yet, start with some yoga, like deep breathing and just kind of taking a moment and like checking in with yourself. And like, we want to get to know our friends and our family and spend time with other people and have these deep, meaningful conversations. But what about us? So you also need to know yourself, and it can sound a little freaky for some people, but it's so important. And I'm going to tell you, it feels really good. And I was very skeptical of all of this stuff before, but I'm totally on board now. And I think you are worth the investment. It feels really good to kind of dive in. And it can be as simple as, you're driving in the car. Obviously, you're not going to close your eyes when you're driving in the car, but you can be driving in the car, take some deep breaths, put some meditative music on, and just kind of get yourself to work while thinking about a mantra. Think about something positive, something that you want to manifest in your life. Like it could be anything. Or like what I've done recently is just kind of set myself up downstairs when the baby's napping. I put some ear pods in and listen to meditative music and just kind of close my eyes and think about something. So for me, I wanted to think about the success of my business and the well-being and happiness of myself and my children and my family. So those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about, trying to push all of the other thoughts aside. So it doesn't have to be difficult. And there's all different kinds of meditation. And if that sounds a little scary to you and you don't know if you can like clear your mind, because I trust me, I have the busiest mind around. I think Matt can definitely speak to that. But if that sounds a little bit difficult for you, there's also guided meditations that you can find on YouTube. Again, just kind of pop it on and close your eyes and you can follow guided meditation. So I think everybody should give it a try. Don't give up the first couple of times, because the first probably 2 times that I did it, I did have a hard time sitting in silence and not thinking of anything. But give it a try, give it a go. And I'm telling you, if you do it about 5 times, you're going to see a difference. So Matt, I'm challenging you in 2020 to meditate.
Okay.
At least 5 times.
Like, I think my mind is even busier than yours sometimes, which is crazy. But what I want to say is I think that I do a form of meditation. Maybe not meditation, maybe thinking and trying to manifest things. Because when I'm in the shower or when I'm driving, in those moments alone, I think about things that haven't happened yet. and I think about me in those situations. And I mean, it gets to the nth degree, the tiniest little detail. So I think that I am doing those things, and maybe not in the traditional, I'm going to sit in a, cross-legged pose with weird music playing and
And it
meditate.
doesn't, and
I
it
know, I'm
doesn't
just
have to
making
be
fun of it.
like
But
that.
I know. So that's what I'm saying. I think that I already do that, and I definitely do the visualization thing. And, I think about all sorts of things. And like when I'm planning projects that may not even be happening, sometimes I'll go on the computer and do up like a photo of it, or a picture, or a title of like, oh, this is going to happen, or and I'm sure when you were little you would write your name and maybe put you plus someone else that you really wanted to be with. And but I have done that with the job that I wanted underneath my name.
Wow.
So I think that there are different ways of meditating and visualizing and manifesting
Yeah,
things that
that's
you might
really
not even think
powerful.
about.
That just kind of brings me on a whole nother topic about energy, but we'll save that for another day. That's a really good point, that it definitely doesn't have to be a traditional sitting cross-legged. Well, recently I hurt my back, and I find that sitting cross-legged it really kind of hurts. So today I put like a pillow under my butt and my legs were stretched out. Part of it I had my eyes open, part of it I had my eyes closed. Like really, it can look like whatever you want it to. So I challenge you all, give it a go. And then let me know. Let me know on Instagram. What'd you think? What'd you think about it? How did it work for you? Okay, so next on the list is something that I think all of us really, really need. So when you're kids, you spend a lot of time doing things that you truly enjoy. Your parents put you in these sports, and then you try them out. If you don't love it, they put you in something else, and then you're spending all of your time doing these lovely sports that you enjoy, or playing with Barbies, or playing with friends outside, coloring, all of these things that you love. And children spend hours doing things that they enjoy. So why don't adults? The next thing on the list is do more of what you love. It seems so simple, but how many of us spend our lives being busy, as I mentioned earlier, and carting kids around, doing work, cleaning the house? And yeah, we have to do all that stuff, but we need to carve out time to actually spend time with ourselves and do the things that make us feel good. I mean, some people maybe don't even know what they love anymore because they've spent so many years adulting. How many memes have you seen on Facebook where it's like, I don't want to be an adult anymore, I'm done adulting, that kind of thing? Well, let's not do that. Like, take some time and be a kid again, or be an adult that's doing something fun. Play, color, paint, create, journal, whatever it is, whatever. Dig out some Barbies and play with your kids. Like, I'm telling you, my daughter, my middle daughter and I, she's very creative. She has taken up an interest in sewing. And I always loved Barbies growing up. So recently, her and I spent time, a couple different sessions, actually making Barbie clothes together. Now, I can't sew, and that's not my forte. However, I do love playing with Barbies. So we spent over an hour sitting and making Barbie clothes. And you know what? It was great time spent with my daughter. Two, it was actually really fun. And it felt fun. And I felt like I was a kid again doing something that I loved. So no, you don't have to make Barbie clothes, but whatever it is that kind of fuels your fire, do more of that.
Yeah, the other night, Sophie wanted to draw, and we laid on the floor and we drew. And I drew too. And it was just all over the place. And we would all of a sudden, she would say, we have to draw this. And we drew that. And time flew. And it was really fun. Recently, I saw a friend on Facebook was taking up learning how to play the guitar at, I think, 51 or 52 years of age.
That's amazing.
And I love seeing those things. And I think he mentioned he had played a little bit when he was younger, like very, very, very little, and then nothing. And that's the kind of thing that you'll always have once you have it, and it's so creative and it's fun and you can do it with other people. And so, I think maybe combining the spending time with friends, doing something you love, that could definitely work as well, even if it's a sport. But creating together, I think, is really, really, really cool as well.
Yeah, well, actually, back to that pukey level of romance that Matt and I have. One of our recent date nights at home, we spent probably a half an hour before bed, laying in bed, writing a song together. I mean, I'm not a songwriter, I'm not even a musician, but doing that kind of thing felt really good, kind of tapping into this creative energy source. It was really neat. So, yeah, I think that people need to spend more time enjoying the fact that you're alive. Enjoy life, live your life. We're only here for a short period of time, so we should be doing great things while we're here. And it doesn't have to be huge, grandiose things, but enjoy your time while you're here.
Yeah, if there's something that you used to do, and when you think about that thing, you smile, why aren't you doing it even a little bit? Even if it was something that you did, say you played in a really competitive league as a sport, I'm sure there's a non-competitive league now that you can pick up and just play when you can. So things like that. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be all the time, but you should be doing things you enjoy every day.
So, the next thing on the list is taking good care of your physical body. So, yeah, it is New Year's time and we're talking about resolutions. So, no, I'm not just talking about getting to the gym and exercising because that can be really daunting, especially for people that's not their thing. Do you know what? That's okay. There are so many other ways to take care of your physical body. Exercise is absolutely, it's totally important, but it doesn't have to be in a gym. And I think that a lot of people put exercise in this little box, like it has to be, you're in a gym, you're lifting weights, there's lots of very fit people around you, and it's intimidating and it's scary, and you have to spend hours and hours and hours in this place that you don't really want to be. Well, if that's how you feel about being at the gym, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you shouldn't go to the gym. You should try other ways of being active. And it certainly doesn't have to be in the walls, confined in the walls of a gym. So whether that means for you, and everybody's different, absolutely people are different. So that could mean finding a really cool YouTube channel like Work and Play with Jamie Joyce, where there are all different kinds of workouts that appeal to different people. It could mean taking up maybe a yoga class or a group fitness class. It could mean going for a hike. Recently, Matt and I started hiking. Neither one of us had hiking as one of the things that we did to stay active before we were together. And in the 2.5 years that we've been together, that's been something that, one, we've really enjoyed staying active and doing that, but two, we're spending time together. And then three, we've actually incorporated our children and taken them and taken our baby Lincoln in a hiking backpack. So there's really so many cool things you can do, and there's all different levels of hikes that you can do. So if you're a beginner, you can start with like flat trails. I could go on and on forever about hiking, but that's just one example of something that you can do that is not in a gym. I mean, there's ice skating or jogging if you like jogging, going for a walk, all kinds of different things that don't have to be in the gym. So I think you need to make yourself a priority. You're staying active and physical is good for your heart health, and your mental health as well. And I mean, and then the bonus is, guess what? You know, if you work out 3 times a week and you're eating healthy, then probably those jeans that you couldn't fit into are going to start to fit on you a little better. So don't look at it like you're doing it to lose weight. Look at it more like you're doing it to complete the picture, the whole you, and feel good.
I never liked working out. And I saw the gym as this weird place that I didn't fit in. I had no idea where to start. I thought the only way to work out was to pay and go to a gym or run. And you and I don't like running. We could do it when we need to, and every once in a while it's okay. But I can't imagine doing it all day, every day. But then some people absolutely love it, and it's their happy place. But for me, I hated everything to do with working out. And yeah, it was no surprise. I had, an extra few pounds around the belly, and I drank a lot of beer and all of that. When we started hiking, and the cool thing is about hiking is we would bring our lunch and kind of earn our lunch that way. But hiking, we started kayaking. I had no idea that would be something that I would not only enjoy but absolutely love. We have tried stand-up paddleboarding. We have gone snowshoeing. We have just gone tonight, went for a walk around the neighborhood. It's all of those things that have helped me become healthy. Mm-hmm. It is not going to the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week and spending all the money and doing all of that. I actually lost upwards of or over 50 pounds without ever actually doing what one would consider a workout.
Just leading an overall healthier lifestyle.
Exactly.
And as you can hear from what Matt is telling you, there's been a lot of variety. So some people just get kind of bored and doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, I definitely get bored doing the same thing over and over again. So I change up my routine all the time. But yeah, so being able to do all those different things to stay active is key to success, really, and to stick with it.
And then the whole, I've got to buy a gym membership now, it's January 1st. Working out at home is totally an option. If you have access to a gym, that's awesome. If you get a deal, that's great. But know that if you really want to do those things, you can do them at home with very minimal equipment. We spent a very small amount of money and bought dumbbells, yoga mat, medicine ball, barbell, and now we have a home gym, and I actually love working out at home. Someone who never thought they would actually ever go to the gym and work out. I can do it in my home. I can follow a video for 20 minutes or
whose videos are you
I
doing,
have an
Matt?
in-home personal trainer, so that's really nice. But I have come down myself and made my own workouts. And I've gone from absolutely hating that and doing none of it to craving it and missing it. But I think the big thing is leading that healthy lifestyle and doing those varietal things rather than being stuck in a gym makes me happy. Some people absolutely love the gym. That's awesome. I don't. And I know a lot of people don't. So when you think about I have to get in the car and I have to drive there and then I have to change there and I have to spend all this money, you don't need to. So there are lots of ways that you can either do it in your home or just do other things that keep you active.
So there are other things as well when we're talking about taking care of your physical body, fueling your body properly, like eating nutritious food. If you think of food more like fuel instead of, oh, it tastes so good, it's delicious. But guess what? Healthy food doesn't have to be gross. Like we have some really good recipes that we make that are super healthy, but they give us all kinds of energy to get in those workouts and to be able to have energy to keep up with all of our kids. And eating healthy is really, really important. And I encourage you to step into 2020 trying to eat as clean as possible. But I tend to follow the 80-20 rule, which is 80% clean eating and then 20% that I allow myself sometimes to have a treat or to have a glass of wine or different sauces that I like on things. You know, sometimes I'm not willing to give up ketchup, and that's okay because that fits into my 20%. So that has worked really well for me. So I would just encourage you to kind of figure out what works best for you, but really try to eat as clean as possible because that's good for your body and that's going to make you live longer, really. And that's really important. Another thing about taking care of your physical body that a lot of us don't do is making sure that we get enough sleep. I know that once the kids go to bed, you're like, this is me time and I'm going to stay up and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But really, you should be every night getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, especially if you have to get up early the next morning and go and power through a day at work and try to be productive. Sleep is really important. So those are the other tips that I would say about taking care of your physical body. So the next up on the list is getting outside. So we talked about it a little bit when we talked about activities, but getting outside and really connecting with nature can help you also connect with yourself and make you feel really good. Honestly, 5 minutes outside and you feel refreshed. I don't care who you are. If you go outside for 5 minutes and take some deep breaths, you are going to feel rejuvenated and good. And so if you're having a bad day at work and things are feeling a little stressful, if you can carve out 5 minutes, go for a little walk outside and then come back in, you're going to feel better. So getting outside, getting in tune with nature, squeezing in some hikes. It doesn't have to be a huge afternoon picnic outside, but carve out that time and connect with nature.
I love that feeling that you get at the end of the day after being outside. And I remember we went to a park, we took the kids, we had a picnic, we kicked a soccer ball around. It wasn't a lot of exercise necessarily, but it was several hours outdoors. And we got home and it was like, oh, there's this feeling that takes over your whole body, that you were outside. I don't even know how to explain it, but you also sleep better at night. It's the weirdest thing. And I don't know how to describe it, but I have a little bit of it today just because we went for a walk around the neighborhood.
Well, and what better thing to teach your children than to get outside and blow off some energy instead of sitting in front of a screen? Get them outside and do it as a family. I mean, kids or not, getting outside is good for all of us. And my mom used to say when I was a kid to get outside and blow the stink off you. So that still applies as an adult. Get yourself outside. It's really good for you. And then the last thing on my list of my self-care plan for 2020 is to practice gratitude. I know so many times you go through the day, we're grumbling about this and grumbling about that, and maybe this coworker was negative, or this person said this, or you got this text message from your mother and she was yapping about something, and you can get really brought down by the negativity that's kind of being fed to you without even realizing that you're taking that in. My ask is that each day, everyone should be doing this. Think about or journal, write it down, 5 things every single day that you are grateful for. And I'm going to tell you, some days, those super stressful days when you are very busy, even if you try your best efforts to stop and smell the roses, it might be hard to think of things that you're grateful for. But if you just take a minute, take a deep breath, and write down the basics. Grateful for my spouse, grateful for my children, grateful that I have a roof over my head and food in my belly, those kinds of things, that could be your easy on your hard day at work. Write those things down because you should always be grateful for something. And then, on days when you're having a relatively good day, you're feeling insightful, maybe you've meditated, you can dig a little deeper and think about other things in your life that you're grateful for. And it will kind of change your perspective and change your outlook, and it can really turn your frown upside down if you're having a rough go. So practicing gratitude is really important in just kind of having an overall better life and better outlook and staying positive. And what you put out there into the universe is kind of what you're going to come back, what's going to come back at you. So if you've ever heard of the law of attraction, if you're throwing out negativity all the time, you're going to see nothing but negativity coming back your way. So if we start turning that around and really focusing on the things that you're grateful for, then I think some good things are going to start coming your way in your life. I just want to say today, thank you so much for tuning in to the Work and Play podcast. This is our first episode, and what better way to spend the new year listening to us and really checking in with yourself, and let us know what you thought of today's episode. Take care.